A homeless man pointed at a suitcase so hard it looked like his finger was filing a police report by itself. Most people walked past him like he was part of the sidewalk. Then Officer Andrew Clark stopped. That decision changed 3 lives before the sun was fully up. Andrew started his patrol the way he always did, early, quiet, and sharp-eyed. Dawn had painted the city blue, and the streets still felt half asleep. Near the old library, he noticed a man by a dumpster sitting unusually upright. Andrew had seen him before, but this was different. The man was not sleeping. He was not begging. He was pointing at a black leather suitcase with gold locks. He pointed like the case was dangerous, cursed, or both. Andrew crossed the street and kept his tone calm. He asked if there was a problem. The man tried to speak, failed, and pointed harder. Andrew radioed his location before touching anything. That was not paranoia. That was experience wearing sensible shoes. He crouched, studied the case, and saw no wires, no stains, no obvious damage. Then he opened it. Inside were stacks of cash packed so neatly they looked like they had arrived for a photo shoot. Andrew froze for 1 beat, and then closed the case again. The man finally whispered that the suitcase was not his. He said someone had left it where he slept. Andrew looked at him, looked at the case, and felt every alarm in his head stand up at once. Money like that does not get lost by accident. It gets hidden, moved, or hunted. Andrew asked the man his name. Eli, he answered. Andrew told Eli they needed privacy before curiosity turned into a crowd. He moved him into the narrow alley beside the library and set the suitcase between them. Eli explained he had opened it at sunrise, panicked, then started pointing, hoping a police officer would come first. He was not afraid of the money itself. He was afraid of the people who might come looking for it. Andrew believed him, but belief is not proof, so he checked every detail anyway. He searched for tags, notes, hidden pockets, anything that could explain why a fortune had landed beside a man with nowhere to go. At first, there was nothing but more cash. Then the suitcase vibrated. Both men jumped back. Buried beneath the lining was an old phone buzzing in a hidden compartment. Andrew answered on speaker. A calm voice said he had left the suitcase there on purpose. Then it gave an address across town and said answers were waiting. The line went dead before Andrew could respond. Now the case was no longer just suspicious. It was staged. Andrew put Eli in the patrol car, kept the suitcase close, and drove to the address. The location was a massive gated estate that looked like old money had learned landscaping. The gates opened without a word from the intercom. Inside, the mansion felt elegant, expensive, and deeply empty. In the main room, a man in his 70s stepped forward from the firelight and looked straight at Eli. He introduced himself as Benjamin Carter. He said the suitcase was his, and yes, he had left it on purpose. Andrew demanded the reason before anyone moved another inch. Benjamin said his family had died in a mountain accident the previous winter. Since then, the mansion had become a museum of grief, and the money had started to feel useless. He began walking the city alone and saw people most of the world had trained itself not to see. Eli was one of them. Benjamin said he had watched him for weeks. He had seen that Eli never stole, never begged aggressively, and always warned others away from trouble near the bus stop. The suitcase was a test, but not the cruel kind. It was a test of character. Benjamin said anyone could want money, but not everyone would point at it and wait for help. He wanted to give Eli a real chance to rebuild his life, not one warm meal and a handshake. Andrew stayed skeptical until lawyers, bank records, and signed documents arrived within the hour. Then the story finally changed shape. The money went into protected accounts. Eli got housing, training, and guidance, and Benjamin got something he had not felt in months: purpose. Andrew kept checking in, because once you witness a stranger choose honesty over desperation, you do not forget it. Months later, Eli had an apartment, a job, and a key that belonged to a front door instead of a shelter locker. Benjamin funded programs quietly. Andrew started mentoring harder, and the suitcase became less of a mystery and more of a turning point. Sometimes a miracle does not look like light from the sky. Sometimes it looks like a tired man pointing at a suitcase and an officer deciding to listen. So if this story hit you anywhere between the heart and the spine, stay close. There are more stories coming that prove one small choice can reroute an entire life.